one might be, but that one's not. So just FYI, don't, you know, if you get online, yeah, they have a tech coming. It's been one of those weeks, so. Okay.
Good evening, Washington Courthouse. It is 7:30 PM on March 27th, 2024. Time for our second regular meeting of the month. At this time, Mr. Schultz will offer an invocation and Mr. Hawk will lead us into pledge. If you can stand, please do.
Bow your heads. Lord, thank you for letting us gather here tonight. Give us the strength, the stability, the persistence, and the ability to make the right decisions for the citizens of Washington Courthouse and for the city of Washington Courthouse. Keep us all safe and in good health. Thank you for being there, and thank you for listening to us, and for everything else you do for us. Thank you, and in your name, Lord, amen.
Amen. Please join me in giving the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Roll call, Kelly.
Schultz,
Here.
Blair, Call,
Here.
Chrisman,
Here.
Hawk,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Lynch.
Here.
I'd like to make a motion to excuse Mr. Blair.
Second.
Roll call.
Schultz,
Yes.
Call,
Yes.
Chrisman,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes. The minutes from our last meeting, which was March 13th, 2024. Do we have any corrections or changes?
I just want to ask if this resolution that that we passed last time, are we still serious about the one where we're annexing the farm property?
Well, the farm property is already inside the city of Washington Courthouse. You passed it at the last time and you communicated the resolution to Miami Trace indicating that you would prefer that it be annexed to Washington City Schools. Since that time, there has been a bit of discussion about Washington City Schools, and if they talked with Miami Trace about it beforehand, in which case that does not appear to have occurred. I've talked with Miami Trace's superintendent about that and expressed our apologies because we thought that that was the school district. They're the most appropriate person to do that. Next week, I'll sit down with both superintendents from Washington City Schools and Miami Trace.
So you'll be strong about it?
Well, you did it and we communicated it. The purpose of the discussion with the two superintendents would be that they can begin to have a discussion about a longer term solution, that an equitable manner to approach the revenues related to property and development so that both schools feel that they are benefiting from development and that issues between the two school districts do not become an impediment to the city's desire to develop certain properties.
I'm not sure I understood all that, but
Basically to see if we can get everybody to get along and play on the same
Agreed.
sheet of music, so to speak.
because it's been somewhat of a sore point in the city that there's a lot of land within the city limits that's really in the Miami-Trace School District, so this would be a chance to help fix some of that, I think. So, anyway, just, if you wanna be strong about it, you got my backing.
Well, you passed a resolution so that there's no question about it, but it would be nice if the two school districts could arrive at a agreement about how to deal with that. And quite honestly, there's more room there than there's ever been in the past to arrive at, for lack of a better description, a lasting peace.
Okay.
Ted, I received a phone call from the superintendent at Miami Trace, and she was not happy. But I told her, as Joe just said, that I thought they had been informed, but that I personally supported what we passed. She wasn't surprised by that. Anyway, anything else on the minutes? Somebody want to make a motion to accept them?
I'll make a motion that we accept them as printed.
Second.
Roll call.
Schultz?
Yes.
Call?
Yes.
Chrisman?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes. Any communication, Mr. Denon?
None.
Reports of council committees. We have a report on service, safety, and recreation, but it was also kind of a report on economic development because Chelsea could not be here this evening. So, Mr. Hawk, do you want to start us?
Yes. The Service, Safety, and Recreation Committee met in the council chambers located at 105 North Main Street on Wednesday, March 13, 2024 at 6 p.m. Ted Hawk presided, and those in attendance were Mr. Caleb Johnson, council member, Mr. Jim Chrisman, council member, Mr. Steve Schultz, council member, Mrs. Sylvia Call, council member, Mr. Dale Lynch, council chairperson, Mr. Gary Dean, service director, Mr. Tim Downing, fire chief, Mr. Jody Langley, assistant fire chief, Mr. Jeff Benari, police chief, Mrs. Chelsea Baker, economic development director, Mr. Mark Pitstick, city attorney, and Mr. Joe Denon, city manager. Number one, the committee benefited from a report of the fire department. Number two, Chief Downing noted that progress was being made to resolve issues with 2 sirens of the outdoor warning system. Number three, the committee benefited from a report of the police department. Chief Venari discussed the benefit of raising the minimum age requirement for lateral or initial employment. The committee recommended that legislation be brought to council raising the minimum age requirement to 45 for initial employment and lateral transfers. Number four, Chief Venari noted that the City of Washington Courthouse would be reimbursed approximately $42,000 from grant funds for body-worn cameras. And that's, worn is W-O-R-N. In the report, it's W-A-R-N, but anyway. So, just that correction. Number five, Chief Venari noted traffic issues in the alley behind the police and fire building and inquired about making the alley one-way from South Fayette Street to the parking lot behind the Good Dog Groomery. The fire department noted the use of the alley entering from North Street. The committee recommended that the inquiry be addressed to surrounding businesses for response. Number six, the committee benefited from a report by the service department. The committee noted the request to change North Main and Temple to a 4-way stop. The committee recommended that discussions continue. Number seven, the committee noted an inquiry from a citizen regarding implementing parking changes on Red Mile Boulevard. The committee recommended that letters be sent to surrounding neighbors regarding the inquiry, as well as observing traffic during different times and days of the week. Number eight, the committee recommended that legislation be brought to council recommending bids for cake sludge, lime sludge, and liquid sludge. Number nine, Mr. Gary Dean, service director, presented the 2024 street paving bid. The committee recommended that legislation be brought to council recommending Fillmore Construction for the street and alley resurfacing bid. Number 10, the administration noted that although road salt was in good supply, ODOT required a minimum order of salt be ordered for the ODOT purchase program. The committee recommended that the administration proceed with the order for the 2025 year.
Mr. Johnson, you want to take over?
Sure. Number 11, Mrs. Baker noted that she would be attending an upcoming Jeffersonville council meeting. Number 12, the administration advised the committee of the positive Honda LG luncheon meeting that was held in February. Number 13, the administration noted that a meeting had been held with the Chamber of Commerce to discuss upcoming plans and residential development options with local realtors, bankers, and builders. Number 14, the committee benefited from a review of the recent Vitality Task Force meeting. Mrs. Baker noted that the Vitality Task Force discussions continued regarding services from the organization called Small Nation. Small Nation helps identify, establish, and seek business interests for the community. Number 15, the committee reviewed progress with industrial development. The administration advised the committee of 51 open projects. Number 16, the committee benefited from a review of the hospital's building progress. Number 17, the committee benefited from a report on the pavilion idea. The committee noted possible locations and recommended that discussions continue. Number 18, the committee noted the status of various development projects within the downtown area. The administration noted that an investment business plaque had been distributed to Optique Eye Care and that a new business plaque had been distributed to Union Savings Bank. Item number 19, the administration advised the committee of the upcoming Main Street Cupcake Walk that would be held on Friday, April the 13th.
Ted, you can finish.
Respectfully submitted, Ted Hawk, Chairperson, Service Safety and Recreation Committee, along with Mr. Caleb Johnson, and Mrs. Kelly Ford, Recording Secretary.
Okay, since this was presented as one report, we'll just approve it as one report. Chelsea just added in because she wasn't gonna be here. So, does someone, any questions?
I had one, just a minor change. Item number 3, the recommendation was actually that legislation be brought to council raising the minimum age requirement to 45 for initial employment and 48
Yes.
for lateral transfers.
Thank you, Caleb.
It's not what we did on the amendment, it's all 45. So we can do that by just amending that resolution if you wanna do that.
So that's not what the legislation says?
No.
45 and 45.
Oh, it didn't say.
It's 45 and 45, but then not more than 48 years of age if such individuals has received.
Okay.
So we
That's
did
good.
correct it.
I
labeled
apologize.
that. So it's
Okay.
45, 45 with them, for 48 with lateral.
And 48 for
But
lateral.
45 was the minimum for both, but then 48 topped out for lateral, topped out for
Okay.
lateral. Yeah,
That sounds good.
That sounds good.
but it
Thank you,
is
Yeah.
on the legislation,
Okay.
45, 45, 48.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, with that change and changing the spelling of Warren Cameron's and
It's still
Debbie
45.
Coolhart, I would move that we accept these as read, or printed, I guess you should say.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Schultz?
Yes.
Call?
Yes.
Chrisman?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes. Mr. Denon, your report, please.
Thank you. Well, most of the items we've already talked about tonight, but Miami Trace Washington City Schools will be sitting down with both school superintendents and would like to thank both of them for their willingness to do that. And I think for the community, having that discussion for the long term, I think is a very positive thing. Now, that is the type of issue that can get quite complicated and can take quite a bit of time to work out. So it is highly doubtful that in the course of one meeting we will all join hands and sing Kumbaya and arrive at a conclusion to the matter. But it is nice to begin. New legislation, you've talked about that, and just wanted to stress that we've had the discussion also with the members of the Civil Service Commission. They are very supportive of making the change of increasing the age for initial appointment and for lateral transfers, and view that has a positive action. And the police department is also very pleased with the proposed action, and we would very much like you to pass the piece of legislation. Now I have a distinct pleasure. Tonight we have a guest that we are recognizing for their dedication to our community. Shortly I will read a proclamation of the City of Washington Courthouse noting the many contributions of David Morrow. But before the proclamation, I'd like to thank Dr. John Nestor and Jeff Warner for attending in representation of the long and dedicated history of the Life Squad, or as we call it today, the Emergency Medical Service, but I've always liked Life Squad a whole lot better. And would also like to thank Gail Allen for her assistance in making tonight possible and really helping out tremendously. And it is an enormous pleasure to be able to recognize Dave. With that said, yeah, before I read the proclamation, John, you want to say a few words? Sure. Okay.
John Nestor, 509 Leesburg. I have a new address. I got it right. Didn't say the old one. Council Chair, Council, City Manager, thank you for this honor. Thank you for this privilege to recognize David Morrow, who's probably trying to figure out what's going on now. But I was thinking tonight that it was about 46 years ago for me, and it's hard to believe, 46 years ago, I assumed the president role of the Fayette County Life Squad behind Todd Monroe and a couple other previous presidents. And I had the privilege to work with David Morrow, John Latchett, and Todd Monroe. All three of those folks were mentors to me. So at 22 years old, fresh out of school, I was a teacher at Jeffersonville. Go Jeffersonville Tigers. But fresh out of school, I was attended one of my first general Life Squad meetings at Washington, the old Washington High School building now. And during the election of officers, I decided that would be a good time to take a potty break. Little did I know that's probably not good. You tend to get nominated for things when you take a little break at that time. So when I came back, Todd Monroe said to me, "John, you've been elected president of Life Squad." I had just been an EMT for a few minutes, and now I was assuming this role of helping run a pretty new Life Squad all across a county-wide system, which was pretty unusual back then to be county-wide. Still very unusual. I have to say, and I've told many people this, that I've had the privilege to do a lot of things in life here in Washington Courthouse and Columbus and so forth. But nothing comes close to serving on the Fayette County Life Squad as a volunteer. That was probably the most rewarding thing I ever did. But this guy, when of course, some of you remember the Life Squad was started by Rotary, and it had a Rotary Board of Directors, but it also had a volunteer Board of Directors of the volunteer EMTs, and the two had to get along. And as the president, as I was the volunteer president, I attended the Rotary Board of Directors meetings, and I tell you, I couldn't have done it without Dave Morrow's wise words. David's words were always the words of wisdom, okay? Calm, cool, collect. And they told me when I became president, one of the first things they said at the first meeting, they said, the rumor is the Life Squad's going to fail this year, okay? And there was reason to believe that. Subscription services, trying to recruit volunteers, and I just flat out said, not on my watch. Now, it might have failed the following year, but not that year. But David was the one I relied on, and I remember one time we went to a critical meeting at Fayette Memorial Hospital, and being 22 years old, full of you know what, David told me, as right before that board meeting at the hospital, he says, John, we have to get along with the hospitals, so please be nice. And it was always that calming effect that David had with all of us, that leadership. And not to mention the fact that many hours of dedication. Their house, the funeral home, was the Life Squad base for many times. That phone would ring. Mrs. Morrow was disturbed many times, answered many of those calls before we had our own building back in that day. So David, we couldn't have done this without you. You contributed to Life Squad hours, leadership, even financially. Even your ambulances were brought into service as Fayette County Life Squad runs sometimes. And whenever I had the pleasure to serve on your shift, I always knew that I had a calm crew leader that had it together, and I learned a lot from him. Truly a mentor to me. And I commend the city and Gail and city manager council for recognizing David. It's close to my heart. And Jeff Warner back there is hiding in the corner. Jeff Warner, he was only 18 years old. When actually he wasn't 18. 15. 15. Yeah, that was a little controversy. We had someone below 18. But Jeff was my dispatcher on my shift back then. And now Jeff has risen in ranks as a paramedic, flies on the life flight, saved many lives. And he calls me one night when I'm taking my brother-in-law to Kettering Hospital. He calls me from the helicopter, and I'm transporting my sister. And again, the calming voice of an EMT, and especially someone that I knew. These are really dedicated people, and these first responders are great. And it started with Dave Morrow. Thank you.
And we have a proclamation of the City of Washington Courthouse, Mr. David Morrow. Whereas Mr. David Morrow is a valued member of our community with a history of personal commitment to the advancement of the people of Washington Courthouse and Fayette County. And whereas Mr. David Morrow is a member of the Washington Courthouse Rotary Club and past master of the Jeffersonville Lodge number 468 Free and Accepted Masons of Ohio, a past president of the Fayette County Board of Health, former member of the Fayette County Board of Emergency Medical Services, former member of the Community Improvement Corporation of Washington Courthouse in Fayette County, former member of the Board of Directors of Southern State Community College Foundation, a founder of the Fayette County Life Squad, Eagle Scout, and recipient of the Silver Beaver Award from the Boy Scouts of America, a longtime member of the Grace Methodist Church of Washington Courthouse and participant with numerous other civic initiatives. And whereas Mr. David Morrow is a graduate of the Cincinnati College of Mortuary Science and a licensed funeral director and embalmer, following his father, George Max Morrow, a funeral director and embalmer, and his grandfather, Samuel Clayton Morrow, a funeral director and embalmer, who in 1901 founded the Morrow Funeral Home in Jeffersonville, and whereas Mr. David Morrow in 1981 purchased the Parrott Funeral Home at 415 East Court Street in the City of Washington Courthouse, furthering the mission to provide care and compassion to grieving families, and whereas the people of the City of Washington Courthouse desire to recognize the service of Mr. Dave Morrow and express gratitude for his lifetime of service to the families, communities, and civic organizations of Fayette County. Now therefore, we, the City Council of the City of Washington Courthouse, Mr. Dale Lynch, Chairperson, Mr. Steve Schiltz, Vice Chairperson, Mr. Jim Crispin, Member of Council, Mr. Ted Hawk, Member of Council, Mr. Caleb Johnson, Member of Council, Mr. Jim Blair, Member of Council, and Mrs. Sylvia Call, Member of Council, and Mr. Joseph Denon, City Manager of the City of Washington Courthouse, do hereby cause this proclamation to be so drafted. We urge the citizens of our community to thank David Morrow for his valued commitment to our community. In witness whereof, hereunto, Mr. Dale Lynch, Chairperson, Mr. Joseph J. Denon, City Manager, and Mrs. Kelly Ford, Clerk, has subscribed their names to this proclamation. And Dave, we are sincerely grateful. And you have always been, I think, a wonderful example of quiet dignity. Old-fashioned values of being kind to people and doing what's right. Congratulations. And Gail, her requirements that she will give you very precise instructions on, and I suggest you listen.
I suggest.
You stand up there so I can get a picture of everybody.
Do you want to move the council members together?
Yeah,
Okay.
Dale's gonna get them all behind him. Stand right there. You get up there.
We'll stand up,
Yeah, we better.
come together down here. Caleb, come
We'll
on
get
down.
him over here.
This is good?
We gotta get Jim down here, wait a minute.
All right. I can see everybody. Good.
Good.
All right. Cheese. My camera is really slow. Yeah, I got it. I think I did. Yep, I got it. Oh, good.
Do you want,
Thank you so much.
Do you want a picture from this one?
Sure. Sure you want, and this is his son, David. You wanna get
David,
in there with
you
him
wanna-
and take your picture with him?
yeah, sure. we can.
Wanna get in there with him, or you wanna take one?
Yeah.
You may take one with your phone?
I was gonna say, I can take one, I'll take one of your phone if you'd like, if you want it. Would you like me to do that?
Whatever you, I think they're fine right there. My picture does not have any. Thank you.
You're welcome. And just so council can see, here's a picture that you can pass around, when he was in a top hat and a funeral with a horse and buggy on the way to the Fairview Cemetery from the Jeffersonville funeral. That's my copy, you can pass it around.
Horses.
Yeah.
Give her time.
David, I don't think there's anybody who's lived in this city or this county who doesn't know what all those accomplishments that were talked about by John and by Joe in the proclamation. It's amazing. You must be 150 years old to do all those things. Seriously, so grateful for what you've done for this county, this community, and I can speak for the church, what you've done for our church. And it's amazing that somebody in your lifetime has had that many accomplishments.
He turns 84 in 3 weeks from today.
Does that mean he's not 150? David, seriously, in 84 years almost, you have accomplished amazing things.
He got his license in 63.
So thank you so much, and it's nice to have you here, and David and Shirley, thank you, and it's just been, you've served, and I don't know that you can say anything better about a person than the fact that you served, so thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Shirley, for sneaking him out tonight too, getting him up here. And
He kept asking me over and over, why are we going?
Okay, we can't top that, but Mr. Director of Finance, do you want to say anything?
I can just say a few words there. We
Yep.
had the main meeting there a little bit ago, but overall, the city's financial status, we're stable, good shape. We're getting ready to end the first quarter. So give us a good idea of where we income versus outgo, how we done for the start of the year. But overall, we're good shape.
Good.
And tax season is
Right
on
around the
us.
corner.
Good luck with the tax season.
Now, Mr. City Attorney?
Well, we're beginning to look to grass. So in another couple weeks, we'll be asking people to mow their yards by placing notices on their door. I didn't realize there were so many tires in this community laying all over the community as there is. We have one property that has 200 tires in the backyard.
Wow.
So we'll be cleaning those up this week. We got 5 or 6 trash haulers. I don't know where all this trash comes from, but properties all over the community have trash everywhere. So we're looking at that as springtime comes around. Cleaning up.
If you had 200 tires in the backyard, how many cars are you finding without
Yeah.
wheels on them?
Quite a few.
Oh, goodness.
Boats now. Boats the big thing.
Boats. Yes. Oh, my God. That's wild.
Okay,
Excuse me, Dale.
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, our city attorney, do we have to pay that disposal fee on those tires, and if so, do we put it back to the homeowner?
We would.
Property owner?
It costs $11 per tire
Is that right?
to get rid of a tire. So there's hundreds and hundreds of tires scattered throughout this community, laying in alleys, laying in fence lines,
Wow.
that we're gonna be cleaning up over the next couple months, 3 months.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks to the service department and so on
Yes,
who
they're
do
gonna
all,
be busy.
all that cleanup.
Mm.
Okay, we have 3 that want to speak to city council tonight. And first, Ms. Brubaker, you want to come up and tell us your name and your address, and then you can tell us what you're here for.
All right. My name's Lissa Brubaker. I live at 315 North Main Street. And I came tonight because I was told that you would like to have some input from neighbors at the Temple Main Street intersection, which has been a concern of mine for many, 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 many years. And I'm just, I feel like I've really been remiss by not bringing it to the city's attention before this. So when I knew you were addressing the issue, I really felt I needed to come and talk. Now, I did hear where it sounds like they proposed to make it a 4-way stop. I have to tell you, in my humble opinion, and I use that intersection not as much as I would because I feel it's too dangerous. So I often use Fayette Street instead. But I have to add that twice today I did that. And when I finally pulled out after taking a lot of time to look for cars, it wasn't particularly close, but there was a car that I couldn't see. And the reason why I'm a little bit dubious about just a 4-way stop is the real problem is the visibility. There are usually vehicles parked solid, both in that block of Temple Street that is, the other side of Main and Fayette Street. So no matter how hard you look, you really can't see cars that are coming. And for whatever reason, they tend to be coming faster than they should be. So, I can't tell you, I don't think I've ever actually witnessed an accident there, but I've seen many, 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 many accidents that have occurred, because I hear them at my house, which I have to tell you is traumatic. But I have seen some pretty bad accidents there, and a lot of them. So, again, of course, a 4-way stop would be better, but I even think that the only real solution, and again because of this visibility issue, and obviously these people need the parking, so you don't want to take the parking away from the people who are using it. I think a traffic light would be a better solution. Even though I'll probably, if that were to happen, even with the 4-way, I'm sure when I'm sitting there, you know how that goes. But that's just my input, and that's from many, many years. And of course, I remember when there was a light there. I remember when they took the light out. But traffic was much lighter and you just didn't have the vehicles and the kind of vehicles parking along the street. So that's
It's we thank you. We are looking for input.
just
so
my
that's-
input. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to ask them, but I think that's basically what my observation has been.
So,
And I'm just glad it's being addressed.
so you said something about parking. Do you think that we should restrict parking if there were less people before parking there, and then now there are more people parking there?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Obviously, they need that parking. I mean, it's just changed. More people have more vehicles and all that. So obviously, if you take that parking away, I don't think that's a good solution. Now, there should be maybe more careful monitoring of that, although I don't frequently observe vehicles that are parking too close to the intersection. Most of them are legally parked, but again, they wouldn't be parking there if they didn't need it. So,
Would you say that I have observed while going through there that the vehicles are often the larger trucks and such? There was some construction that looked like for a while there, which made
yeah, that went on for a very long time. I was not happy about that, but I don't, as far as I know, this city doesn't have an ordinance about, trucks that park on the street or whatever. So I had to assume that was legal. Now, the guy who lived at the corner, who always had big construction type vehicles, is not living there any longer. So it's not that, but even like when I was trying to, when I was getting ready to turn on to Fayette, to Temple from Fayette today, it was just like a Bronco type vehicle that was parked in the middle of the block, and that was enough to block my vision of a car that was coming a little faster than it should have. Again, nobody was hitting the brakes or anything, but I was surprised to see a vehicle coming because I couldn't see it. Yeah, so, but you're not, you're not going to change the kind of vehicles people are buying, and yeah, oh, dare I say, yeah. Well, I'm thinking of the trucks that park on Main Street, which, but so I think that's not a solution. I think you would just upset a lot of people who park there.
Okay, thank you
So, yeah.
for your input.
And thank you all for taking a look at the situation.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have a Josephine. Josephine? You want to come up and say your name and where you live? I think I know your name and where you live, but let's hear it anyway. We need a stool, Mr. Denton.
You have to say your name. I think Josephine's gonna decline to speak. She got a little.
You changed your mind?
Changed her mind, that's okay. Okay, well, next we have another speaker. Mr. Call, you want to tell us who you are and where you live?
Yes, my name is Brandon Call. I live at 327 North Main Street, and I'm here to talk about the intersection at North Main and Temple. It's a street that's very near and dear to my heart. I use it several times a week, often daily. In fact, I crossed it on foot to get here today. And I counted the cars, and 8 cars passed us before we were able to cross safely. And it's quite a busy intersection. My main issue is that it's very dangerous for my children to cross. we have friends that live across Temple, still on North Main, and unfortunately they're not able to visit them as much as I'd like, just because that intersection is often busy and has cars going often above the speed limit. And my son was actually almost hit by a car there about a year ago. And since then, we've restricted them entirely from crossing the intersection. If they want to cross, they have to go down to Hind in Temple where there's a light, because that's the only safe place for them to cross. I haven't witnessed any accidents personally, but I have heard them and then saw the aftermath. And I don't know how many I've personally witnessed, but I know it's so many I've lost count. And another thing is that when we have friends that visit us from out of town, or even just friends from in town that visit us, and we often go downtown, even they note that that intersection often has very fast cars, very heavy traffic, and is difficult to cross even for adults. And that's pretty much all I have on that.
Okay, this is great. We love the input.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Mr. Call,
Oh, yes.
will Fayette need addressed too? I know a lot, we've been speaking about Temple and Main Street, but it sounds like Temple is where people are coming from, the flow of traffic, the speeding, etc. Should we be looking at Fayette and Temple also?
Ideally, I would recommend that as a layperson. So I don't know the specifics, but I would like to see maybe a four-way stop at both of them, act sort of like a soft speed bump to slow traffic and make it safer for pedestrians. But that's a bit above my pay grade.
Yeah. One problem we have with that typically, just so everyone here is aware too, we typically can't use stop signs as a way of a speeding control device. That's the only thing. A lot of people, that's the natural suggestion would be to put a stop sign if people are speeding to really force them to slow down. But there is somewhat of a danger with that if they're just going through, and then if they're used to this not having, you know, a four-way stop, if they're used to it being a two-way stop, you could accidentally make it more dangerous on the other hand. You know, maybe a light would be better at both. But yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. Okay. Josephine, sometimes I don't want to talk either, so I understand.
But you can't shut him up.
Anyway. I appreciate your input, seriously, everybody's. Okay, we have a lot of legislation. Kelly just reads a brief part, but this is, I left this up here tonight, because this is what it looks like. If you see the whole thing, so be glad she isn't reading all of it.
I'm glad.
Okay, we have legislation previously introduced, starting with ordinance number 3, 2024, second reading.
I'll move we put ordinance 3, 2024 on second reading.
I'll second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Schultz,
Yes.
Call,
Yes.
Chrisman,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Ordinance number 3-2024, an ordinance accepting annexation on application of owners and establishing original zoning districts of 470.705 acres.
Ordinance number 4, 2024, second reading.
I'll move that we place ordinance number 4, 2024 on second reading.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Schultz,
Yes.
Call,
Yes.
Chrisman,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Ordinance number 4-2024, an ordinance accepting annexation on application of owners and establishing original zoning districts of 24.975 acres.
Ordinance number 5, 2024, second reading.
I'll move we put ordinance number 5, 2024 on second reading.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Schultz,
Yes.
Call,
Yes.
Chrisman,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Ordinance number 5-2024, an ordinance authorizing Joseph J. Denon, city manager of the city of Washington Courthouse, or his designee to abate public nuisance at 310 Cherry Street, authorizing a private contract for payment of the abatement of nuisance, and directing the collecting of the cost of the abatement of nuisance from the owner of the property.
And I just mentioned, for any that haven't been here before, most of these ordinances are about abating properties, and so it's been discussed at length and so on. Okay, ordinance number 6, 2024, second reading.
I'll move that we place ordinance number 6, 2024 on second reading.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Roll call?
Schultz,
Yes.
Call,
Yes.
Chrisman,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Ordinance number 6-2024, an ordinance authorizing Joseph J. Denon, city manager of the city of Washington Courthouse, or his designee to abate public nuisance at 716 Broadway Street, authorizing a private contract for the payment of the abatement of nuisance, and directing the collecting of the cost of the abatement of nuisance from the owner of the property.
Ordinance number 7, 2024, second reading.
I'll move we put ordinance number 7, 2024 on second reading.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Schultz,
Yes.
Call,
Yes.
Chrisman,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Ordinance number 7-2024, an ordinance authorizing Joseph J. Denon, city manager of the city of Washington Courthouse, or his designee to abate public nuisance at 228 Hickory Street, authorizing a private contract for the payment of the abatement of nuisance, and directing the collecting of the cost of the abatement of nuisance from the owner of the property.
Ordinance number 8, 2024, second reading.
I'll move that we place ordinance number 8, 2024 on second reading.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Schultz,
Yes.
Call,
Yes.
Chrisman,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Ordinance number 8-2024, an ordinance authorizing Joseph J. Denon, city manager of the city of Washington Courthouse, or his designee to abate public nuisance at 1011 Orville Avenue. Orvilla Avenue. Authorizing a private contract for the payment of abatement of nuisance, and directing the collecting of the cost of the abatement of nuisance from the owner of the property.
Ordinance number 9, 2024, second reading.
I'll move we put ordinance number 9, 2024 on second reading.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Schultz?
Yes.
Call?
Yes.
Chrisman?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Ordinance number 9-2024, an ordinance authorizing Joseph J. Denon, city manager of the city of Washington Courthouse, or his designee, to abate public nuisance at 233 Hinkle Street, authorizing a private contract for the payment of the abatement of nuisance, and directing the collecting of the cost of the abatement of nuisance from the owner of the property.
Ordinance number 10, 2024, second reading.
I move that we place ordinance number 10, 2024 on second reading.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Schultz?
Yes.
Call?
Yes.
Chrisman?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Ordinance number 10-2024, an ordinance authorizing Joseph J. Denon, city manager of the city of Washington Courthouse, or his designee, to abate public nuisance at 410 Delaware Street, authorizing a private contract for the payment of the abatement of nuisance, and directing the collecting of the cost of the abatement of nuisance from the owner of the property.
Ordinance number 11, 2024, second reading.
I'll move we put ordinance number 11, 2024 on second reading.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Schultz?
Yes.
Call?
Yes.
Chrisman?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Ordinance number 11-2024, an ordinance authorizing Joseph J. Denon, city manager of the city of Washington Courthouse, or his designee, to abate public nuisance at 314 Fountain Avenue, authorizing a private contract for the payment of the abatement of nuisance, and directing the collecting of the cost of the abatement of nuisance from the owner of the property.
Ordinance number 12, 2024, second reading.
I'll move that we place ordinance number 12, 2024 on second reading.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Schultz?
Yes.
Call?
Yes.
Chrisman?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Ordinance number 12-2024, an ordinance authorizing Joseph J. Denon, city manager of the City of Washington Courthouse, or his designee, to abate public nuisance at 1022 Rawlings Street, authorizing a private contract for payment of abatement of nuisance, and directing the collecting of the cost of the abatement of nuisance from the owner of the property.
Ordinance number 13, 2024, second reading.
I'll move we put ordinance number 13, 2024 on second reading.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Schultz?
Yes.
Call?
Yes.
Chrisman?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Ordinance number 13-2024, an ordinance authorizing Joseph J. Denon, city manager of the City of Washington Courthouse, or his designee, to abate public nuisance at 516 Lewis Street, authorizing a private contract for the payment of the abatement of nuisance, and directing the collecting of the cost of the abatement of nuisance from the owner of the property.
Ordinance number 14, 2024, second reading.
I'll move that we place ordinance number 14, 2024 on second reading.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Roll call.
Schultz?
Yes.
Call?
Yes.
Chrisman?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Ordinance number 14-2024, an ordinance authorizing Joseph J. Denon, city manager of the City of Washington Courthouse, or his designee, to abate public nuisance at 901 Sycamore Street, authorizing a private contract for the payment of the abatement of nuisance, and directing the collecting of the cost of the abatement of nuisance from the owner of the property.
Ordinance number 15, 2024, second reading.
I'll move we put ordinance number 15, 2024 on second reading.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Schultz?
Yes.
Call?
Yes.
Chrisman?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Ordinance number 15-2024, an ordinance authorizing Joseph J. Denon, city manager of the City of Washington Courthouse, or his designee, to abate public nuisance at 708 South Main Street, authorizing a private contract for payment of the abatement of nuisance, and directing the collecting of the cost of the abatement of nuisance from the owner of the property.
Ordinance number 16, 2024, second reading.
I'll move that we place ordinance number 16, 2024 on second reading.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Schultz?
Yes.
Call?
Yes.
Chrisman?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Ordinance number 16-2024, an ordinance authorizing Joseph J. Denon, city manager of the City of Washington Courthouse, or his designee, to abate public nuisance at 707 Broadway Street, authorizing a private contract for payment of the abatement of nuisance, and directing the collecting of the cost of the abatement of nuisance from the owner of the property.
Ordinance number 17, 2024, second reading.
I'll move we put ordinance 17, 2024 on second reading.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Schultz?
Yes.
Call?
Yes.
Chrisman?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Ordinance number 17-2024, an ordinance authorizing Joseph J. Denon, city manager of the City of Washington Courthouse, or his designee, to abate public nuisance at 525 Delaware Street, authorizing a private contract for the payment of the abatement of nuisance, and directing the collecting of the cost of the abatement of nuisance from the owner of the property.
Ordinance number 18, 2024, second reading.
I'll move we put ordinance 18, 2024 on second reading.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Schultz?
Yes.
Call?
Yes.
Chrisman?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Ordinance number 18-2024, an ordinance authorizing Joseph J. Denon, city manager of the City of Washington Courthouse, or his designee, to abate public nuisance at 619 Broadway Street, authorizing a private contract for the payment of the abatement of nuisance, and directing the collecting of the cost of the abatement of nuisance from the owner of the property.
Ordinance number 19, 2024, second reading.
I'll move that we place ordinance number 19, 2024 on second reading.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, so are we still resolved to use the donations and grants to fund this project that this is created for?
All this does is it directs Ron to create a fund in which you would deposit donated funds for the purpose of playground equipment, Ted.
So the intention is that if we do anything, it would be, cause we don't have a lot of money right now. We've
Well,
been through
even
rough
if
times.
you, yeah, even if, let's say if, Ted Hawk generously donated $1,000. Ron would take the check, he'd deposit it into, he'd give the fund a number and he'd pick a name for it, the playground equipment fund, fund number 522 or whatever. And then in order to use that money to do anything with it, you'd then have to appropriate it. So you got another step of control about what you do with it.
Well, at that other meeting, did we decide then that we'd only buy the equipment if we got the grants?
You pursue the project if you got the
Unless
grant.
they won't give us the money.
Right.
Long as it's free.
I think he said he would, right?
I don't know if I had it, I probably would. But I just, I don't wanna go down the trail where we get to the point of we need more funds and we don't have enough donated money or enough grants that we,
At the rate you appear to want to put up traffic lights, I don't think you have to worry about having extra money. But no, you don't, no, there's no, you're pursuing the grant opportunity and you're creating a fund to receive donated money. And you'd have to appropriate either if you receive them, so the concern that you are expressing, Ted, is heard, but I don't think that there's a particular problem. Mark?
It would have to be appropriate at some point.
Isn't that what we did with the dog park?
Yeah, exactly the same thing.
Just gives people the opportunity, like I work with Dr. Fitton's office at ABC Pediatrics, and she has said, if there's a way for me to donate to an inclusive playground, I will. Who do I write a check to? And right now, that entity doesn't exist.
I understand all of that. I just wanna make sure we don't go down a rabbit hole on this, so.
Okay, anything else?
so-
Roll call.
Schultz?
Yes.
Call?
Yes.
Chrisman?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Ordinance number 19-2024, an ordinance authorizing and directing Ronald Sockman to create accounting funds.
Okay, we move to resolutions. So the first is resolution number R16, 2024, second reading.
I move we place ordinance number 19, 2024 on second reading,
No, you got
It's
or 16, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Resolution, not ordinance too.
16.
Yes.
Who, did somebody second it?
Jim did.
Jim did. Oh, okay, good. Discussion? Roll call.
Schultz?
Yes.
Call?
Yes.
Chrisman?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Resolution number R16-2024, a resolution authorizing the city manager, Joseph J. Denon of the City of Washington Courthouse, to award a contract to Fillmore Construction for the 2024 street and alley paving program.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Roll call.
Schultz?
Yes.
Call?
Yes.
Chrisman?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes. Resolution number R17, 2024, second reading.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, on, what's that, that's 18 you're on now?
No, they're on 17.
Okay, I'm sorry.
17.
At 18, he has something for you.
Yeah, we have something for you.
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
But this is 17, 2024, second reading.
I'll move we put resolution R17, 2024 on second reading.
Second.
Discussion.
Roll call.
Schultz?
Yes.
Call?
Yes.
Chrisman?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Resolution number R17-2024, a resolution authorizing the city manager Joseph J. Denon of the City of Washington Courthouse to award a contract to Gibson Lime Services for the 2024 water treatment plant lime sludge removal for a 3-year term.
Move for adoption.
I'll second that.
Roll call?
Schultz?
Yes.
Call?
Yes.
Chrisman?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes. Now, Mr. Pitts.
Okay, I apologize.
That's okay.
Synagro was not the best bid on this particular ordinance. It was actually Gibson. So what I'd like to do is have a motion to amend the resolution and then wait one more meeting so everybody would be able to understand the transparency of the next vote, if everybody understands what I just said.
Do you want us to table it or?
None, what,
I move to amend resolution
Amend.
number R18-2024 to reflect Gibson as the lowest bid instead of Synagro.
Second.
Okay, we're voting to amend.
Amend.
Any discussion about it? What? Okay, roll call.
Schultz?
Yes, with the amendment, yes.
Call?
Yes.
Chrisman?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
I move to table resolution number R18-2024.
We can table it now. I'll second that.
Okay, roll call.
Schultz?
Yes.
Call?
Yes.
Chrisman?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes. So we got that right?
Yes, we're fine. We wanna make sure we have an extra reading in here.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Resolution number R19-2024, second reading.
I'll move you for resolution R19-2024 on second reading.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Schultz?
Yes.
Call?
Yes.
Chrisman?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Resolution number R19-2024, a resolution authorizing the city manager Joseph J. Denon of the City of Washington Courthouse to award a contract to Gibson Lime Services for the 2024 wastewater treatment plant liquid sludge removal for a 3-year term.
Move for adoption.
Caleb and Jim.
I'll just throw it there.
Roll call.
Schultz?
Yes.
Call?
Yes.
Chrisman?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes. Next is new legislation in writing. We have one. That's ordinance number 2024, first reading.
I move we place ordinance number 2024 on first reading.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Schultz?
Yes.
Call?
Yes.
Chrisman?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Ordinance number 20-2024, an ordinance amending codified ordinance 33.16, age requirement for original appointments.
Kelly, you deserve a vacation. Okay. Mr. Chrisman, do you have anything this evening?
Oh, just, thank everybody for coming and congratulate Mr. Morrow and his guests, backers, friends. Good job. I think that's all right. I can't remember too much more.
Okay.
Taxes, my memory.
Mr. Hawk?
I
See, he forgets to.
really have anything constructive to add, so.
Thank you.
He's filled up. You ate too much food.
This is call.
I am just grateful that my daughter did not get up and ask for horses to be allowed within city limits, which was her original intent. So, very grateful that she chickened out on that. We'll keep the chickens, we don't need the horses. That's all I've got.
Could be interesting.
Oh, it's kind of too bad she didn't.
Made it livelier.
Mr. Schultz, what have you got?
Well, I want to, I think it was a great honor, Mr. David Monroe, with his quite accomplishments for all those years in the community. It is hard to find someone like that, and so we have one right here in our own community. So I think that is fantastic, and the reading that you've done that honored him, I think is fantastic. And you did a great job, Mr. Nestor, of explaining where all this started from and everything. So, and then I have another little story. This may or may not be true, but his story about Ted when he was much younger. He went to a church one time, and the church decided to have this feeding for the entire community. It's going to have this big picnic for the entire community. So the minister of this little church, and Ted was just a young man at the time. Of course, we know he likes to eat. And so the minister only had one big bushel of apples he put out there, and he put a sign, "Only take one apple, please, because God is watching." Well, Ted goes to the other end of the table where the chocolate chip cookies were at. He put a sign out that says, "Take all you want. After all, God's watching the apples."
Good logic.
That may or may not be true. No, it, Ted, it may be true.
Mr. Schultz, I think you're out of order. Mr. Johnson, do you want to try to tell a joke? Or?
Not a joke. I would suggest some sort of traffic study be done on, and really, I think the issue is bigger than just an intersection of Temple and Main. It sounds like Temple has become somewhat of a thoroughfare, and so you really need to consider all of those intersections along the way. If it's people speeding through there and contributing to a problem where they're rushing through there and not paying attention, maybe there's a bigger problem than just that one intersection. So maybe a traffic study.
That's why we gave you the information about several intersections at committee.
Anything else? Caleb?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Ms. Brubaker, have you ever seen chickens crossing the road down there?
No, I haven't. That would be interesting. I'm trying to think, maybe some Canadian geese, but.
No, that's meant for my partner here next to me.
Rid of some of those, though.
Okay, since Mr. Schultz ended this meeting, we need to adjourn. Somebody want to make a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call.
Schultz.
Yes.
Call.
Yes.
Chrisman.
Yes.
Hawk.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes, we are adjourned at 8:37.